Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome here in the room as well. Sorry, I'm just a minute after 2 there, starting up with a small bit of technical difficulty. So we're all set up now. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So today we're talking about, well, this is our second session today, and it's the Canvas and Zoom refresher. So basically it's kind of made as a session specifically for existing staff, but new staff are most welcome as well, because we did that Canvas for new staff session this morning. I want to maybe just give you an idea, first of all, of who we are, in case you've forgotten. We're the Department of Technology and Enhanced Learning, and there's we have 12 in the team. So who you see on screen there is basically who will be dealing with you with tickets and support and training and so forth. Today's session is the second session that we've done through the hybrid mode. So meaning that there's people here in the room. You can't see them on camera, but they're here. And then we have people online as well, attending. So we have the two audiences joining together. If you have any questions online, please use the Q&A feature. So that's in Zoom, or if you're tuning in on YouTube, it would be great if you could use the comments feature, and my colleagues are monitoring both of those online there. I'm just going to make my screen a small bit bigger here. Okay, so today we're just going to talk about, well, a few things really. So typically at this point of the semester, you're going to be maybe rolling over modules from last year. That would mean you'd be able to copy a module from last year into this year's modules, which would all be blank by default. And then we'd look at maybe just some of the getting set up for new semester, some tips, looking at the user interface within Canvas, and just getting ourselves back into the swing of things, getting a bit more familiar with things. And we're also just going to look at the start of semester Zoom setup. So it's kind of a two-hander. I'm going to deliver the first half, and then Sarah, my colleague Sarah Pattison, by the wonders of modern technology, is in another studio separate to this, and she's going to deliver a bit on Zoom. So the start of semester Zoom setup. Just, I suppose, to maybe preface that, you know, Canvas and Zoom, I guess, are the two kind of the bedrock really in terms of our e-learning infrastructure here in the university. We've recently gone through a procurement process that has meant that Canvas and Zoom are now with us for the foreseeable future. And that just means that there's, I suppose, a security in that. We know that they're going to be there for quite a long time, and we can develop on integrating them further and enhancing the feature set and rolling out new features to staff and to students. So Canvas and Zoom are tightly integrated, which in through a protocol that's called LTI. It's a Learning Tools Interoperability Standard. You don't have to worry about what that means and what it entails, but essentially what it means is those two systems authenticate to each other. They pass over credentials securely, and also it means that we can really manage roles and stuff quite accurately. So a staff member would have a very specific set of permissions in Zoom and Canvas, and then a student would also get the appropriate levels of permissions for things like sharing and recording and so on. So a lot of the things you see here in the wheel are kind of the way those things are integrated, and there's a few other things. We have other tools that are integrated into Canvas also. Those things are our plagiarism detection tool, which is original. We have an e-learning authoring tool called H5P. We have automated assessment integrations, again using that same LTI standard, Labster and Numba, so they're in the sciences and maths. We have learning analytics, so I guess from maybe week 3 onwards, you're going to see engagement with your module through what are called participations. So you should be able to see whether your students are engaging with material online if you've uploaded learning materials, and also different types of things called participations. So the participations are measured based on assignments, discussions, things like that. So that's a useful feature, but you won't really see data in that until maybe kind of week 2, week 3, until people actually start to engage. There's also a digital attendance tool called Quickly. That's actually available in all modules. There's a help article on it if you want to know how to make that visible in your module. And there's also some nice developments within that module. So that actually allows you to be able to take digital attendance. So it auto-populate the roster of the module for you, allow you to take digital attendance within the classroom and allow your students to actually check in as well. So that's useful for taking attendance rather than doing it manually through paper. And that's all integrated with Canvas also. There are 2 Canvas apps. If you remember, there's a teacher app and there's a student app. I think it's if you can recommend to students that they use the student app, it's really useful for them to get notifications on assessments, announcements and things like that. And obviously there's a teacher app if you want to use it. Can be useful for certain things, particularly just announcements and just to get a kind of a quick view of your module. I'm not sure if you've seen this. This is basically all of the different things that we have integrated with Canvas. Canvas is at the center of the screen here, or of this wheel, and you have the Canvas app there as well, the teacher app. And outside of all of these kind of quadrants, you can see the different Canvas features, and they kind of fall into communication, collaboration, live classroom stuff, content on demand, and up here, classroom management and tracking. So that would be looking at attendance, micro-credentials, digital badges, things like that. And there's also analytics and stuff in that quadrant, and scheduling and things. On the kind of outskirts of that, you can see different other tools, outliers that may be relevant to you. Screencast-O-Matic for doing your screen recordings and uploading into Canvas. And then peripherals such as webcams, headsets, document cameras, things that integrate in well with Zoom, for example. There are other tools available that staff can use. Miro is a tool that people use for kind of mind mapping and things like that. That's not integrated into Canvas, but it works quite well as something that you can point to from modules. And then there's Original, which is our plagiarism detection tool, and Portfolio, which is our ePortfolio tool. So if you have any questions on any of that stuff at any point, there will be training, there will be sessions on this stuff in the future, but there's a lot on our website as well. That's the Canvas Teacher app. Now, one thing that's good to know is that Banner is basically our student information system. It provides all of the knowledge that that we need to take enrollment data into Canvas. So all modules, all enrollments for staff and students are stored on Banner, and that updates twice daily. It updates, I think, around lunchtime and also at 3 a.m. in the morning. What it means is if you make any change, or if there's a change to that data, for example, if you weren't seeing a module in Canvas or on your Web for Faculty, you can get onto the Web for Faculty team. They can sort that out for you, and then either one of those 2 updates will happen, and you'll be able to see it after that update. So if a change is made for you before lunchtime, it'll actually be seen after lunchtime. If it's made after lunchtime in Banner, it'll be seen the next day, next morning, or at 4 o'clock in the morning if you're up that early. So Web for Faculty, cork@mtu.ie is the email address to email if you have, basically if you're not enrolled in something on Canvas, you're not seeing it on Canvas, or indeed if your students aren't seeing it, there's a corresponding email address for students. There's a lot of stuff obviously in flux this time of year in terms of enrollments and so on, so that's maybe worth noting. So when you're logging into Canvas, you're still using your CIT credentials. So your CIT.ie credentials, that's your email address and password. You use it for WorkVivo, you use it probably for a lot of other things as well. I know we have MTU email addresses as well, but I suppose we're not yet caught up in terms of many systems across our IT infrastructure in MTU in that we're still authenticating using CIT credentials, probably for a good few months yet, because there's a whole merger project happening there in terms of accessing different systems using MTU credentials. So for now, for Zoom and for Canvas, you can use your CIT, your staff CIT credentials, and that's the same for students. Students would be using My CIT. Okay, so we're going to look at accessing and copying module content, and we'll look at some of the interface stuff. We'll talk briefly about cross-listing. We'll look at some Zoom stuff then, and we can do a bit of wrap-up and Q&A. If you do have any questions, feel free in the room or online to ask them via the Q&A feature. Okay, so demonstration time. I'm going to go over to Canvas, and I'm now going to go into a module. So you'll remember this is the module or the dashboard. At this point in the semester, you're going to get a whole load of modules in your Canvas dashboard. You're going to get semester 1, semester 2, and semester 3 unpublished modules that will be blank, basically. And they're all coming from what we call this rollover exercise that happens at the start of September every year. What that means is all of those modules are created, and then they're updated via Banner, of course. But you need to do a small bit of tidying up in your dashboard first in order to be able to see what you want to see for the current semester. So to do that, if I scroll down here, for example, you see a whole load of unpublished modules, depending on what you're teaching on, for example. So if I go to modules here in the global menu and I scroll down to all modules, or if you just go cit.instructure.com/courses, if you're typing that into the address bar, you'll see basically all the modules that you are enrolled on. And you'll also see basically any, I suppose there's a few columns here. There's a module name, there's what we call a nickname, there's the term, which is your semester, there's enrolled as, so you're enrolled as either a student or a teacher or a lecturer, as we know it. And then everything that is published is marked as yes or no. So that's published is yes, unpublished is no. So everything by default is unpublished, and you just basically scroll down and you find the stuff that you want. So basically at the start of it, if I just untick all of this a second, these stars on the left-hand side are all the modules that are actually on your dashboard. So the initial thing you'll do is you'll go in and you'll just tidy this up and basically kind of find out what it is you want to focus on for the semester, okay? So I have a number of modules there. I want to find one for this current semester, and I just want that to be my only module on the dashboard for now. To do that, I look for the column with the term, which is your semester, and I'm going to look for 22, 23, sorry, and I'm going to look for semester 1. So I have one here called e-learning authoring. So I'm going to star that, and if I go back to my dashboard, I should now just see the one module that I want to deal with. So that's your way of kind of housekeeping. That's the way of kind of favoriting, unfavoriting. At any stage, you go back to the all modules section to tweak that. Now I'm going to click into this module here. And what I'm going to do just for demonstration purposes here, I'm just going to reset this just because I want to basically see a blank module. I was just working on this earlier. What I want to do, first of all, I suppose, first of all, you'll see your blank module that has the same layout as as last year, maybe a few small tweaks, but what we roll out is called a blueprint. And this blueprint just basically rolls out the same settings to every single module within Canvas. We've done that in a way that works in terms of instructional design and learning experience design, and just even in terms of the sequencing of your navigation on the left, the fact that you have your announcements, your recent 2 announcements on the very top, and you have basically your main area here for learning materials in the middle. And from a student's point of view, I can show you what that looks like in a minute. So a blank module is a blank module, okay? So if I go back to my, my all modules, I want to look at the same delivery for that module in semester 1 of 21-22. So this is where we're kind of copying over our content, okay? So this is the module. There's communications in there. We can see there was a lot of activity in there, a lot of material. So it's arranged from weeks 1, week 2, up to week 10 or something like that, or 8, yeah. And we're happy with that, and we want to kind of roll it over into this new semester, but with a few tweaks into the new academic year. So if I go down here to my settings, and I go to export module content, that's where I can export a package in an e-learning standards compliant manner. It's called it's actually a Canvas format. So it packages it up, and that file then, once exported, is what you re-import into your new module, okay? Now, there are other options you can see there, like copy module, for example. You won't be able to delete it because I'm just showing up admin privileges here, but you will be able to copy a module if you wanted to as well. But let's just look at exporting the module content. So if I go to export module content, I can see that I have 2 exports here already. So these were done in our last training session last week. I have 2 export types. So I have the module and I have the quiz. So you can the one we're looking at here is the module, but you can actually also export quizzes separately if you want to. For this, I'm just going to concentrate on the module. So you create the exports, and this actually takes a while. So it's actually running a small bit faster today. But typically it will take a few moments depending on the amount of content that you have in that module. Now, I've luckily one that I prepared earlier on my desktop here, so I'm just going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to, just go back here a second. So when that actually does fully export, okay, and this bar goes up to the top, you actually click on the file, so the most recent export, and you just you save that, and you're saving that in a file that's called IMSCC file. So that's just an e-learning standard for packaging e-learning content, and then you save it to your desktop, okay? So that's being done already there. I'm just going to go back to my module, and I'm going to import that content. So if I go to settings and import module content, I can go to my Canvas module export package. So there's a lot of other options in here. There's basically just all versions of the same type of thing. They're all package files, different package files that are corresponding with different systems. So for example, if you were looking at Blackboard, which was our older LMS, you could bring in content from that with that native format. So we're just going to deal with the Canvas module export package, and we're going to choose a file. I'm going to choose the file that I created earlier. And then you have the option here for all content, specific content, and adjust events and due dates. So I'm happy enough to go all content, but if you did want to go select specific content, I could show you what that means in a sec. You can also adjust events and due dates. Now, I tend to do this manually myself because there's a lot of, there's a lot of flux with dates. For example, you have first year starting very late this year. You have all sorts of things contributing to maybe, unknowns in terms of what your due dates might be. So I typically maybe just bring them in as is, and I just change the dates around then when they come in Canvas. So if I go and I import, it'll just upload for a few seconds there. Any questions in here? No? And online? Into the Q&A if you do. Just waiting for that to import there. Okay, so that's essentially queued now, and that'll actually, it won't happen instantaneous. That's the first thing to say. So once you import it, or sorry, once you export it, it takes a few moments. Once you import it, it's actually queued, and then you see this thing running. So that'll run. We'll give it a few seconds. Hopefully that'll run somewhat quickly. There isn't a lot of material in this module, to be fair. So let's just give it a couple of moments. I can actually have a bit of water while this is running. Okay, so you know the way we said we're going to select specific content rather than doing a whole import of everything. So if we go to select content, we can actually go in and we can be selective about what it was we wanted imported. So I'm just going to, I just want all of this. I want all the units. I want all the assignments. Maybe I'll just leave out the announcements. I'm happy enough to create my own announcements this time around. I'll import calendar events and then import my files. And so select that content. And again, that is queued. So it won't happen straight away. And what we can do is we can come back to that module in a moment and we can actually see all of the content after importing. So that's one thing to note, is it's just not going to happen straight away. And depending on the amount of stuff that you have in there, it'll take a few moments, okay? Now, something else I mentioned was just the Canvas interface. Nothing major has changed, to be honest, in terms of the interface based on what you saw last year and what you're seeing this year. Same integrations, more or less, maybe some tweaks to Zoom. There's new features in Zoom, and we might have a quick mention of those in the Zoom part of the session. You still have the same methods of support, so you can get onto Tier 1 through your help menu. Your inbox, everything is much the same. So we've rolled out a very similar blueprint with some small tweaks. So yeah, you shouldn't see any major changes there. Let me see, what did I, oh yeah, sorry, that's after completing. So if I go home here now, sorry, if I go home in, yeah, that's it. That's exactly the module now as I wanted it imported. So that's good to see. And I can also go into my assignments then. And obviously everything is dated here, 2021. So I want to go in and just edit those and tweak those to bring them up to date. So I'm gonna, basically just go into 2022 and just pick an appropriate date there and just be careful of the times and so on. Okay, so all the while this is happening, this module is actually unpublished, and there's a reason for that. Well, for me anyway, I have a lot of tweaking to this module before we actually roll it out this week. And unpublishing the module means you have that safety net. You don't have to be worried about notifying students and then getting notified of upcoming assignments and stuff like that. So that's the reason for that there. Cross-listing is something I mentioned. So cross-listing is basically where you're delivering one module, multiple deliveries of the same module, maybe to different departments, different groups, and you want to be able to combine those into one kind of master module, but still be able to set assignments for the individual groups, which are called sections. So a cross-list request is what you need to put in. And that's actually, if you go to our site, our support site, go to support and lecture, staff articles, or just go directly to that URL there. You can actually find cross-listing in Canvas, and cross-listing is just a request you put in. You name the SIS-ID of the parent module and SIS-ID of any of the child modules. So if you're looking for an SIS-ID, it's down here in your settings, and it's in under SIS-ID. So if you want to quote that in the request that you make, that will mean that the request will be handled quicker, basically. There are a few kind of little hacks within within Canvas that are quite useful as well. So, for example, if you accidentally deleted something, so if you enter your files here, for example, and let's just say we're just going to delete a file here. Okay. What you can do is you can go into your navigation bar and you can go /undelete. Okay, and that'll actually allow you to restore that file back again. So anything that was deleted can be restored. So that's a bit of a lifeline in terms of things like assignments or files that you might have uploaded, you mightn't have them locally. You know, it's the ability to resurrect them basically. Okay, so that's that feature. Just thinking, what else do I have in terms of the getting started for new semester? Zoom is the next thing, I guess. Maybe Syllabus. Sorry, so Syllabus. The syllabus is automatically populated. It's a dynamic area. So this area is where any time-based stuff is added. So if you have Zoom sessions, this is a fully online program, master's program, by the way. So this module is delivered wholly online and through Zoom and Canvas. And basically, each session here is actually auto-populated into the syllabus. So here you get a good list of all of that stuff in there. Analytics is another thing to mention. So analytics won't be available right away. It takes about a week or two before you'll actually see data gathering up. And once that data does start to shape, you get a good idea of engagement, at least with the asynchronous component of your module, not the in-class, obviously. If you're looking to use the attendance tool, you can go to settings and you can go to navigation, and there's an item called quickly. Quickly can be quickly dragged in here as a menu item, and if you save that out, you'll get it here on the left. And quickly allows you to be able to take a digital attendance from your module. So I'm not going to show you that because it'll show my student information there if I do, but that's basically a digital attendance tool that allows you to take attendance I mentioned earlier, in-class attendance or online as well. So I'm not sure, Sarah, are you good to go if we maybe switched over to the Zoom component and might take any questions? Yeah? Perfect. So I'll stop sharing. I'm going to pass you over to Sarah, who is, I'm just going to...
You need to give me access to sharing there, sorry.
Yeah, I'll just make you co-host there.
Yeah, perfect.
And Sarah is just going to run through the Zoom component of Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, it's working. All right, so we're running Zoom within Zoom. So this is why I have this set up as an external camera, so you'll be able to see me run a Zoom session within the Zoom webinar session. But first, what I'm going to do is quickly go over how you set up your classes in Zoom. So you probably know this from previous years, but we'll go over best practice kind of stuff. But as you know, you'll be scheduling your classes for the year, the online classes through the Zoom tab in your module. And then you just click schedule a new meeting. I'll just go over some of the settings that might be of note. So obviously you can add a topic, description, when it is, and duration. And if you want to do it recurring, so if you have a class every Monday at 4 o'clock or something, you could do a recurring meeting and then set it up to be every 1 week or something like that. And you can either make it stop after 10 times or make it stop on a certain date, basically. Also, what's worth noting is if you ever have any external lecturers, which a lot of people do, they won't be able to join the meeting if you have it set to only MTU Cork students or staff. So we recommend that you set that up to all authenticated users when you have an external speaker, or if you have anyone external that you want to join the class. So you just select that setting. The only thing here is as well is if your external person is joining, they do need to have a Zoom account, so they can't join as a guest. They have to have their own personal Zoom account to be able to join. And I'll show you how you can link it to them as well, because obviously they also won't have access to Canvas, because only students and staff can access Canvas. Okay, and now if I move down, also you can pre-assign breakout rooms, and I won't go into that in detail here, but we do have a lot of resources on that on our help site, and I'll show you the help site there a bit later. You can also choose to record the meeting automatically in the cloud. Now that would be that every time you start the meeting, it would start recording right away. So you might choose not to do this just because you might start the meeting a few minutes before the actual class starts, and you might be testing out your sound, or I don't know, students might join and they might have a little chat at the beginning or something, and you don't really want to capture that in the recording because it will appear on Zoom. So we might suggest instead that you just remember to click record during your meeting, maybe have it on your first slide or something. And I imagine your students will probably remind you as well to start recording. So that's what we would say. But if you want to, you could click record the meeting automatically as well. Then if you have like multiple lecturers on a module, you might want to have an alternative host, so multiple people can start the meeting and be the host of the meeting. So you can see here there's two people, there's me and there's Lauren. So that means either of us can start the meeting and be the host of the meeting. So if I go back out of that, I might start a meeting now and show you how it looks. So I have a meeting set up now for 2 o'clock, and I have Ruth helping me. So one sec, open. So you should be able to see this. That's my Zoom within a Zoom. Second, let's see. We'll be waiting for her to join there in a second, but while we wait for her to join, I might go over the sound settings. So you can see here, my levels are changing here, but if you want to, so that shows that it's picking up my voice, and it's just my laptop speaker picking that up. So what I'm going to do is click audio settings, and you can also see it here, that it's picking up my voice somewhere. But if you had like, so it's actually picking it up from my camera, but if it can also pick it up, see, that's my, where is it here? There's my laptop one. It's probably not as good. But you can click test mic, and you won't be able to hear this because I'm not sharing the actual sound of my PC, but it's recording me and it'll play it back to you. And then you'll be able to hear yourself to see if it sounds right, and you can change the volume and everything like that. You can also suppress background noise. So if you have like a barking dog or crying child or something in the background, you can change that kind of thing here. You can also test your speaker just the same way. So you can test where the sound's coming out from, and if you click test speaker, it'll play a sound, and then you can check if that's actually working. So I don't have, there's working there. That's working. So I might show this a similar thing with video. So I don't have my videos turned on in the meeting just yet, but you can see when I'm looking at video settings, I can choose either my integrated webcam, so that's just the webcam in my laptop, but I also have a Logitech plugged into my laptop, and I can change it as well from HD to not HD, and you can see the difference there. It's a lot crisper, and there's like a more wide angle lens there. I can mirror my video. So maybe if you were showing something on a piece of paper or something with your students and it wasn't showing the right way, you could mirror your video there. You can click touch up my appearance. So that kind of softens your features, I guess. So it's like, I don't know if you're feeling particularly haggard that day, you can just turn that way up if you want to. Then you can also adjust for low light. So if the room that you're in is a bit dark, you can adjust that, auto or either manual, basically. And that's the main settings really for that. One other thing on video is your background. So I have it set up that it's blurring my background, but I could turn that off if I wanted to. And one thing a lot of lecturers probably use is the MTU backgrounds. So you can download those, I think, from the MTU marketing site. And then you just load them in here, click add image, and then add it as your background. So if I go back now and turn on my video, that should do. There I am. So I'm going to admit Ruth now. She's been waiting long enough. But basically all this time Ruth has been in the waiting room. So when you start your class, your students won't automatically be joined in it. They'll get a message saying you're in a waiting room, wait till your teacher starts the class. And then when I click admit, she'll join the room then. And yeah, so then what I can do once all my students have joined the meeting, I can ask them, can you hear me okay? Or something like that, and ask them to use the reactions. So they're like emojis. So you can see there Ruth has done a thumbs up. I mean, she can hear me, which is good. They could also use it to raise hands. So if you have any questions, instead of people all turning on their microphones, you could say click raise hand, and then you'll get a notification of that. And then you can say, oh, Ruth, do you have a question? That kind of thing. But I'll go through all the questions here now. And some stuff I went into more detail on the Zoom new features session. So I'll let you know if it comes to that. But the first thing I'll talk about here is the security settings. So these are just settings that the permissions that you're given to your students, and if you want to lock the meeting. So if you click lock meeting, that just means that nobody else can join the meeting anymore. So if you wanted to just lock it down for some reason, you can do that. You can't disable or enable the waiting room. That just comes with the MTU lecturing licenses. So there will always be a waiting room. You can hide profile pictures. You can also, so at the moment I have it so that all participants can share their screen, but I could turn that off if I only want me to be able to do that. Actually, it is turned off, but if I could turn it on if I wanted them to. At the moment, everybody's able to chat, unmute themselves, start video, and share whiteboards, but I can turn them off if I want. If I want to remove someone for whatever reason, I can do that. And I can also click, if in an emergency, I guess if something was going wrong in the meeting, you can suspend participant activities. So that'll just stop everything, stop all the videos, all the screen shares and everything like that. And then I think it also turns off everybody's camera. You can see there's a participants button, and that's just bring you the list of everyone that's in the call basically. And I can click ask to unmute, and then Ruth will get a notification asking her to unmute her microphone for whatever reason you might want her to talk about something. And I can mute her again as well because I'm the host of the meeting. One thing that I'll talk a little bit more about here is polls. So you might have used Zoom polls before, but something that's a bit new about them in the last year or two is you can also do quizzes, not just regular polls. So I actually have some set up, but I'll show you how to create them as well. I might just launch this one so Ruth can show you what it looks like. So this is just like a little poll, and she can decide which is better. And then once she's done that, you'll see, so you can see she's answered chips. Then I can click end poll. And you can see I have a quiz one as well. But before I show that one in here, I'll show you how you can create them. So you'll be doing that in the tlcit.zoom.us. And you just sign in here. And I just have to sign in. And I go find my meeting that I'm doing. So you do this ahead of the class time, basically. You can create it within the class, but it's probably easier to do it ahead of time. And then you just click on the name of the meeting. That's the meeting that's going on at the moment. You can see here, you can see even that it's ended because I already did that poll question. I already ran it with Ruth. But if I click create, I can either make a regular poll. So that was what that first question was. Or I can do an advanced poll. So that's where there are different kind of question types. So if you are going to do like a quiz question type question, what you need to do before you do anything is click the options button here and select make a quiz and set correct answers. Otherwise it's still a poll. It just has like fancier different question types in it. And then when I go back into here, click here, I can choose the question type. So the polls would have single choice and multiple choice, but none of the rest of these options. So you could have a multiple choice where there's multiple correct answers, matching, rank order, short answer and long answer, and fill in the blank, and then rating scale, which is kind of like polling as well, but you're just doing a rating scale on something. So I'll show one that I made earlier. don't save, which is this one, what's the capital of Australia? And then you click please select answer, which I actually haven't done, so I'll do that now. Click done. I'm pretty sure Canberra is correct. And then click save. And then I go back into our Zoom meeting. And then I can launch this one and see if Ruth answers. There, and she probably would have got a notification there saying that she was correct as well. So then I can end that poll. So that's pretty helpful, because if you were ever using things like Kahoot or something like that, and I know that they've made Kahoot cost money now, you can do simple quiz questions like that within your class live now, which is really helpful. Then we have the chat. So if I just click chat here, your students will probably use this a lot just to communicate with you during sessions. And what you can do is either send a chat to everyone. So if I just send hello, that'll go to everyone in the chat, or you can direct message people. So I can click on Ruth's name. I can go, hi Ruth, and she can write back to me as well, which is pretty good. There we go. So you can direct message people as well if you need to do that within the session, and then nobody else will see it unless you're clicking everyone in the meeting. Then if I click share screen, so I'll do that, it'll bring up all the windows that I have open. So I can either click screen and that'll share everything that I have open on this on my laptop screen, or I can click a window I have open, which is my Google Chrome. So I might show you that in a second, but also you can select share sound. So if you're sharing like a YouTube video or anything that has sounds, even slides that have sound, you need to click that so that your computer sound will play for your students. And also if you're playing a video, you click this so that when you're viewing a video clip, it's optimized and your students will see it in the best way possible. So if I just share my screen here, you'll see that's me sharing my screen within the Zoom within a Zoom. I know that's confusing. Stop share. And then what I can also do is if you click advanced and click PowerPoint as virtual background, so this is just another cool option, is you could have your PowerPoint slides on your desktop and you just click advanced, click here and then click share, and then I just click on the files. You can just navigate and find them, click open, and then it'll load up your slides behind you, and then you can see instead of the MTU background, it's actually the slides are my background, and I can just go through the slides there and I'm still there on the screen. So that's pretty cool, and they're pretty good quality, like high quality to go through them. And I'll stop sharing that there. Then, as you can see, I'm not actually recording this session at the moment. Let me just turn. Yeah, I'm not actually recording this session at the moment, but if I wanted to, I would click record there, and now you can see that it's recording. And you can also pause the recording at any time. So if you're pausing for a break or something, just click the pause recording and then click play again. Then when you're happy with the recording, you just click the stop recording, or if you at the end of the class, if that's when you wanted to stop recording, it'll stop recording when you click end as well. If I just click stop recording there. And then there's obviously a notification, press yes. You'll get an email when the recording is ready on the cloud, but it'll also appear on Canvas. So I'll go back to Canvas actually and show you that. So if I go back to Canvas now, that recording I just did might not appear straight away because it varies how long it takes basically, depending on how long the recording is basically. But at the moment you can see there isn't one from right now because it probably take a little while to go up, but I would say it could take 15 minutes or maybe more if you have a long lecture for it to appear here. But once it does, all your students can access the recordings just by going to the cloud recordings tab here. And then I can click there and click play and it'll open a recording. And then they can play through a recording. And that's one from previous training basically. And then if you did have bits of the recording that you wanted to cut out that for your students not to see, you can see there's this little scissors icon on the recording. So if I click scissors, I can select a playback range, and then I can edit this to not start there. I want to start there instead, and then here. The only downfall of that is I can't cut out a bit in the middle. It's just you're setting a start and an end. Basically, it's not like a full video editing tool or anything like that. I also can edit highlights. So if there was things you wanted to draw people's attention to in the recording, you could do highlights. So you could highlight different sections. So you can see I had ones the other day, but you can add more and you can edit them as well. So then students can see the highlights of the session, basically, which could be helpful if you want to draw attention. If I just go back into the Canvas, one thing you can also do is check the analytics just from here. So if I go into previous meetings, so when the meeting's over, I can go to see the meetings here and click report. And you can see here who joined the meeting. So you can see it was me, Ruth and Brendan were in the meeting, and you can see how long they were in the meeting. So that's really helpful. And it also has a poll report. I don't think we did a poll, but if you had our poll, you could see the poll report there as well. So that's really helpful as well. I'll go back into main Zoom now. There you go. So whiteboards, that's one of the things that I covered in our Zoom new features, because there's a lot to it. So if you want to learn a bit more about whiteboards, I would say go onto YouTube and have a look at our video on that. And also focus mode. Focus mode basically is if you click focus mode, that'll turn the cameras off of all your students, everyone in the chat or in the meeting except you. And also it'll turn off shares and things like that. So if you were asking all of your students to do something like do a quiz or something where you don't want them to be distracted by each other, you could start focus mode so they're all focusing on that. Or if you wanted different students to share content with you that only you can see, but you don't want the rest of the students to see, you could start focus mode for that. So that's helpful. So you just click that, and I went into that in a bit more detail in the new features session. I think that's mostly it for me for now, but if there are any questions.
Thanks a million, Sarah. I don't see any questions, or I don't think there are any questions here so far, so I might wrap up there, but thanks very much, Sarah, for that kind of whistle-stop tour there of Zoom. I'll maybe just wrap up on a couple of support slides there, Sarah. Let me see. Okay. I actually posted in that link that Sarah was talking about as well. She did a session on, it was called Zoom In, Zoom New Features, and that has whiteboards and annotation and things in there as well. So support, it's, I suppose, the same as last year. There's tier 1 support, 24/7. We'd recommend you use the web chat as the first option there. You could submit a ticket, and tickets probably take longer to answer, and I think we just get a bit more out of the back and forth. It's like a phone call. You can actually phone them as well on that free phone number. We also have a number of supports on our own site at tel.cit.ie. There's support guides. There's our YouTube channel, which are referred to there, and so all the recordings from this week and from last week are up on there. This is our help section. There's also the Canvas Learn for Staff course, so that's available to all staff. So once the rollover happened, everyone would have been enrolled on that module. So you will see that as one of the modules on your dashboard. And that course is updated as well as there's any updates to Canvas. So I would encourage you to have a look at that. That's a self-paced course that goes through anything from creating and managing content to accessibility, quizzes, all very detailed stuff in there, so it's worth a look. And then our email address, if you want to get onto us, is edtech@mtu.ie. You can follow us on Twitter there and that handle. I suppose all queries that come into EdTech are queued in a kind of a ticketing system. you get an automated response, but we typically get back within the day or within a few hours. Really, it depends on demand. There's quite a lot of demand this week, obviously, with cross-listing and the seasonal stuff that happens. But you know, we're back pretty quickly there. So I just want to thank everybody for attending, both face-to-face and online, and just wish you all the best in the coming semester. If you need support, just pop us an email, anything relating to the e-learning infrastructure, or if you have any questions indeed about any of this stuff or anything else relating to education technology, digital learning, just give us a bell, send us an email, and we'd be happy to help. So thanks again to Sarah, thanks to the rest of the team as well for supporting, and we'll talk to you all soon. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.